חיים טובים, ימים יפים, פרנוס הסגית, אפילו חופשה לפעמים. ילדים מביאים לנו נחת לרוב, כולם בריאים, יש שמחות מזל טוב. מדהים לראות איך הכל מסתדר, ושום דבר לנו לא חסר. ורק בזמן שקשה נביט למעלה, למה שלא נבין שהוא אחראי כאן לכל, הוא את הכל ברא, לטוב ולא לרע, הוא האלוקים, הוא מלך מלכי המלכים. אין עוד מלבדו, אין עוד מלבדו, אין עוד מלבדו, אין עוד, אין עוד, אין עוד מלבדו, אין עוד מלבדו, אין עוד מלבדו, אין עוד, אין עוד. הכל זורם, אז תתבונן, תראה מיד את יד השם, שום דבר לא מובן מאליו, תכיר באמת כאן ועכשיו, כל מה שיש לנו רק בחסדו, ותמיד אנחנו בידו. ורק בזמן שקשה נביט למעלה, למה שלא נבין שהוא אחראי כאן לכל, הוא את הכל ברא, לטוב ולא לרע, הוא האלוקים, הוא מלך מלכי המלכים. אין עוד מלבדו, אין עוד מלבדו, אין עוד מלבדו, אין עוד, אין עוד, אין עוד מלבדו, אין עוד מלבדו, אין עוד מלבדו, אין עוד, אין עוד. Damn, you think you got it under control, you're on a roll, living it up, living your dreams, but when it all goes bust at the seams, then you scream and cry to the one on high. He's been it from the beginning, when you felt like you were winning, he was calling all the shots, he gave you all that you got. So when you know, just you know he's up above and down below, so shout it out aloud with me, let's go. Ain't no never, I can't hear you, sing it, sing it, whoa. Ain't no never, ain't no never, ain't no never, break it down now. Ain't no never, ain't no never, ain't no never, ain't no, ain't no, ain't no, oh, ain't no never, ain't no never, ain't no never, ain't no, חיים טובים, ימים יפים, פרנוס הסגית, אפילו חופשה לפעמים. ילדים מביאים לנו נחת לרוב, כולם בריאים, יש שמחות מזל טוב. מדהים לראות איך הכל מסתדר, ושום דבר לנו לא חסר. ורק בזמן שקשה נביט למעלה, למה שלא נבין שהוא אחראי כאן לכל, הוא את הכל ברא, לטוב ולא לרע, הוא האלוקים, הוא מלך מלכי המלכים. אין עוד מלבדו, אין עוד מלבדו, אין עוד מלבדו, אין עוד, אין עוד, אין עוד מלבדו, אין עוד מלבדו, אין עוד מלבדו, אין עוד, אין עוד.
Good evening, Chag Sameach to all our viewers, and welcome to a very special event tonight, Hora with the Torah, a virtual pre-Simchat Torah concert for Jewish students to bring Simchat Torah to you at home. Yes, you guys. My name is Edward Lichtig, and I'm the political officer at the Monash Jewish Students Society for 2020. Tonight in Melbourne, at least, we find ourselves in the middle of the Jewish month of Tishrei, celebrating Sukkot, but under strict restrictions due to the COVID-19. Simchat Torah is a time for joy, time for celebration of the completion of the Torah, usually accompanied by large gatherings of dancing. On Simchat Torah night, the streets of the Melbourne Jewish community are iconically packed into all hours of the morning, with Jewish people going from shul to hear speeches of Torah and to dance for the happiness of the occasion. Unfortunately, this year, we won't be able to do that. Due to the dangers of the spread of COVID-19, who knows the next time we can all stand together as a group and just dance, sweating so much from our love of the occasion through our dancing. When will there be a next time when I myself can comfortably hug someone, or indeed dance with a group of people without fearing for my health? I don't know. But what I do know is we can only do the best we can do. Whilst being separated physically, we are united digitally. And it's with this spirit that we bring to you this virtual concert. So sit back, enjoy with your dinner, listen to some amazing speeches, join in with the songs, and be sure to stay for a short panel at the end with questions from you guys. So be sure to type into the comment section wherever you're watching live on our live stream your questions so that the panelists can answer them at the end. So let's begin the show. Our first performance for tonight will be from Moish Feiglin. So Moish is previously a teacher and counsellor from Melbourne, Australia. Moish is a talented folk music singer who goes by the stage name Moshe Hendel. He was part of a talented band in Melbourne before moving to Israel, where he continues his passion as a singer-songwriter. He's performing for us all the way from Israel, so let's hear it for Moish.
G'day, Orges and Monges. My name's Moish, and I'm here in Israel in my sukkah, and really happy to be joining your virtual concert from around the world. And I'm going to play you a song. It's called True to My Name. It's a song of optimism and hope, trying to find yourself, and especially in these crazy times, I think it's quite befitting. So I hope you enjoy the song, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the program. And shalom from the Holy Land. And there's a sad old song playing in my head, and it goes like this, and it goes like that. There's the same old story playing through my mind. It reminds me at times of the mess I left behind. And all the same, I'll be brave and stay true to my name through these dark nights, hard times, crying and the pain. I'll stay true to my name, true to my name. There's the same old story that you keep telling me. It's the one where I set myself free from the places I've been and the things that I've done, the friends that I've lost and the battles I've won. And all the same, I'll be brave and stay true to my name through these dark nights and hard times, crying and the pain. I'll stay true to my name, true to my name. to my name through these dark nights and hard times, crying and the pain. I'll stay true to my name. There's a sad old song playing in my head, and it goes like this and it goes like that. There's the same old story that you keep telling me. It's the one where I set myself free. Chag Sameach and a happy Sukkot, and wishing you all the best and health and peace and prosperity and all the good things. God bless.
Thanks so much for that, Moish. A song also, I think, really relevant for the times that we are living in. We are now privileged to hear from our first speaker, Tali Borowick. Tali has been involved in the Jewish community for some time now, serving previously as president of the Monash Jewish Students Society in 2019. She is now currently Merakezet of B'nai Akiva Melbourne. Welcome, Tali. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Eddie. And first off, I just want to say a huge thank you to Monjas and Chabad on campus for facilitating this really amazing event. It's so special that we can still come together as a community to celebrate the Hagim, even though we're apart. I think together apart, to quote the times we currently live in. I wanted tonight to share a thought on Simchat Torah. Simchat Torah is really unique amongst the festivals. It's not mentioned in the Torah, nor in the Talmud, and unlike Purim and Hanukkah, it was not formalized by any decision on part of the rabbis, nor does it commemorate any historical deliverance. The cliche, they tried to kill us, let's eat, seems to not really apply here. Instead, it's a hug that grew from the grassroots and slowly developed over time. I know when I think of Simchat Torah, the custom of celebrating the completion of the Torah and immediately beginning the annual reading cycle again is a joyous milestone, marked with dancing, singing, schmoozing, eating, catching up with friends. It's this meeting place where we come together as a community. It's what brings the simcha, joy. Yet such a joyous celebration was born when the Jewish people had lost everything. They'd been exiled, dispossessed, without materialism or luxury. They didn't have anything to rejoice in. But as Rabbi Sachs says, a people whose capacity for joy cannot be destroyed is itself indestructible. Tonight, when I was asked to speak, the immediate theme of celebration in the face of adversity and pain seemed especially relevant and prevalent in our society today. This theme of emunah, faith, is what the Hagim seem to characterize at the moment. And, you know, in fact, this duality of Simchat Torah is both connected to Sukkot, but also a separate festival in its own right. As young adults involved with monjas, active on campus, active in our community, we possess this duality. We are both active within our own spaces, but have found a way to support and engage the community. It's so admirable that as youth, we have continued to persist despite the current circumstances, to continue supporting and enriching those around us. I don't think it's by coincidence that this period of festivals, one of cyclical change, you know, one of renewal, is also a time for change of leadership in our community. You know, currently AGMs, people swapping tafkidim, taking on and choosing to be a part of the leadership of this community. I think it's this awesome opportunity to celebrate what we as a youth have managed to encourage others and to empower change in this super hard and super difficult year. I think it also possesses this amazing opportunity for us to get involved. It's almost an invitation to put up our hands. I think if we can take any message from Simchat Torah, any message from this incredible, beautiful Hagim season, is that there is opportunity, there's the ability to put our hand up, to get involved and take part, no matter how big, no matter how small. And with that, I leave you and I wish everybody a Chag Sameach. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that, Tully. That was really lovely, and I really love the idea that Simchat Torah is an invitation to put our hands up and to get involved in different opportunities within the community. We are now privileged to hear from two young artists, Mendel and Daniel Jacks, who are currently actually in Canada. So thank you for getting up this early. Daniel and Mendel are patriotic Australian boys who, due to coronavirus, are preparing to bunker down for a cold Canadian winter. And to them, Jewish holidays are synonymous with song. So they are really delighted to have this opportunity to play some Simchat Torah music. So without further ado, give it up for the Jacks brothers.
Hey there, fellow Australians. We hope you're having an enjoyable Simchat Torah. We're the Jacks brothers, and we hope you enjoy our miniature concert.
Sometimes I lay under the moon and thank God I'm breathing. Then I say, don't take me soon, 'cause I am here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more wars, and the children will play one day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. It's not about win or lose, 'cause we all lose when they feed on souls of the innocent. Blood-drenched pavement, keep on moving though the water stay raging. And in this maze you can lose your way, your way. You might drive through crazy, but don't let it phase you, no way, no way. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll there'll be no more wars, and the children will say, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day.
Thank you so much, Mendel and Daniel, for that incredible mashup all the way from Canada. We are now very lucky to hear from our next speaker, Adina Benkia Karp. Adina is a social researcher at the Australian Centre for Jewish Civilization at Monash University. She was previously a Jewish educator at Mount Scopus Memorial College and continues to be involved at Jewish education across the Australian Jewish community. It's always an honour to hear from Adina. I think we might be having some technicalities, so I'm not sure if Adina is on yet. What we might do is, just while we're waiting for Adina to come on, we might just introduce us to our next performer, and then I think Adina will speak after that. And in the meantime, just before that, we'd love for our viewers to comment in the comment section how you guys are liking the concert, what's been your favorite part so far, and also what are you guys eating for dinner, just to see how you guys, just to touch base with you guys. Yes, so all right, so he's been waiting for too long. We've got an artist on standby, the young artist Ivan Zulman. Ivan is a Deakin Biomed student and a musician. He's been playing music for the Jewish community from a very young age, and he has recently actually written and produced his own original music and distributed that on sites such as Spotify and Apple Music. So without further ado, give it up for Ivan.
Hi everyone, Chag Sameach. I hope you're having a wonderful Sukkot and looking forward to Simchat Torah. And I hope you're enjoying this wonderful concert. I know I am. It's all been absolutely amazing so far. I'm going to be playing the song V'hayar Enenu. If you know the song, please sing along. If you don't know the song, get the hang of it somewhere along the way. Sing along at home, hum along at home. I hope you enjoy. you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the song. I hope you enjoy the rest of the concert, and I hope you have a wonderful Simchat Torah and Chag Sameach.
Well, thanks so much, Ivan, for singing the Hora Einenu. Really love that, and I think it's always amazing to have young Jewish students musically talented and able to perform for us. Our next speaker is, in the meantime, we're gonna introduce Miss Lifshi Eisenschmidt. Lifshi is the co-director of Chabad Campus Melbourne. She is the first female Jewish chaplain at Swinburne University and also serves as the Jewish chaplain to Monash, Clayton, and RMIT universities. Hailing from New York, Lifshi loves Melbourne and loves working with university students. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Lifshi Eisenschmidt.
Thank you so much. There's a wonderful and moving song from the artist A.B. Rottenberg called The Man from Vilna. It says the true story of a Holocaust survivor. Let's call him Moshe. After Moshe's camp was liberated, he was so joyful and yet so fearful. Now what? What is he going to do and where will he go? He, like millions of other Jews, had lost all of their loved ones. His heart told him to go back to Vilna. Perhaps, maybe he will find a loved one or even a friend. Moshe and 400 other Jews made the trek to Vilna. It took many months, and finally they arrived. When somebody called out, "It's Simchat Torah tonight." With light and happiness, they ran to their shul and tore down the barricade that the Nazis had put up. They entered, and what they saw shook them to the core. Scraps of Sidurim, bullet holes, and bloodstains were scattered across the shul. They looked toward the Aron HaKodesh, where the Torahs are kept, and there was nothing there. Their hearts sank. There would be no Simchat Torah that night. There were no Torahs to dance with. Then they heard two children crying, a boy and a girl, and they realized that there were no other children around. There was just those two. They scooped up the children and danced round and round in circles with them. It was as if the world had done no wrong to them. Dancing from night until morning, round and round with happiness and love. They didn't have any Sifrei Torah to dance with, but they had these children in their place, the future of the Jewish people, because the Jewish people will always live on. Our connection to Simchat Torah is not only through holding and dancing with the Torah. It is how we bring the ethos of the Torah to the people around us. It is about the children who are the guarantors and the future of the Torah. It says, Histakel be'oraita uvara alma, that God looked into the Torah and created the world for Torah. The Jew is no less crucial for the Torah than the Torah is for the Jew. It is the Jew who devotes their life to studying, teaching, and practicing the Torah. It is the Jew who spreads the wisdom and ethos of the Torah to all people. So no wonder that the most joyous festival of the Jewish calendar is Simchat Torah, when the Torah reading cycle is concluded, and then it starts anew, it starts again. It's the day when we rejoice in the Torah, and the Torah rejoices in us. However, on Simchat Torah, why don't we study the Torah instead of dancing with it? Why is the Torah scroll rolled up and with a tie and with a beautiful cover on top? Because on Simchat Torah, we are celebrating our bond with the essence of the Torah. The Torah remains scrolled because we are holding onto and celebrating the Torah, not its words and precepts. We are embracing and connecting to the dimension of the Torah, which relates to each and every Jew, regardless of knowledge and spiritual state. And in dancing with the Torah, we all relate equally to the Torah. On Simchat Torah, we are all equal in our inability to even fathom the essence of the Torah and our connection with it. When you have a rabbi dancing, or somebody who's not a rabbi or a child. Their footsteps are no different than one another. Their sweat is no different than one another. We are all equal. Just as the men from Vilna held those children and danced with them through the night, so too, each of us, no matter our background or spiritual standing, can keep the Torah alive, whether we are able to dance with the Torah or not. We can rejoice in the beauty of the Torah. We can pass it on to our children. For each one of us are the guarantors of the Torah. We are the future of the Torah, and you are the future of the Torah. Thank you so much for having me, and I hope everybody has a wonderful Simchat Torah.
Thank you so much, Rebbetzin, for those inspiring words and for all the tireless and selfless work that you do for the community. Thank you so much.
It's our absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
We have a very special performance now, which was actually sent in beforehand, as this piece is a prearranged saxophone quartet by Aaron Gallagher, performed by Nessia Buda Gallagher. And Nessia is a saxophonist and music educator, currently pursuing a PhD in musicology at the University of Melbourne. For more, you can actually visit her website, www.angmusicstudios.org. So without further ado, here is Nessi's performance of Sisu V'Simchu.
Hi everyone, my name is Nessia Buder, and I'm going to be performing Sisu V'Simchu as a saxophone quartet by Aaron Gallagher.
That was incredible. Thank you so much to Nessia Yuri Gallagher for sending in that saxophone quartet. That was really something. We are now very lucky to hear from our next speaker, Adina Benkia Karp, who I will reintroduce again. Adina is a social researcher at the Australian Centre for Jewish Civilization at Monash University, and she was previously a Jewish educator at Mount Scopus Memorial College and continues to be involved in the Jewish education across Australia and the Australian Jewish community. It's always an honour to hear from you, but we still might be having some technicalities in seeing Adina. Adina, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Maybe we just can't. So we've got your audio, and I think we're just having some difficulties getting your picture up. But if you're happy, I mean, like we can't see you just visually, but if you're happy to still give your speech, that would be still amazing. Just we're having some technicalities getting your picture up. I'm not sure.
So strange. It's
yeah.
Trying that. It's just not happening. Oh, wait a minute. I got a blue bagel. I have no idea. I followed instructions. I present every day online, and I have no idea why it's not coming through. Done. All right. I've rebooted it 3 times. I've tried it on Chrome, Firefox, and Internet Explorer. So your screen says that you can see me.
In any case, I reckon just go for it. I reckon we'll just listen to your speech.
Okay, cool. Sorry, everyone. Hi, I'm Adina. I've been a uni student, and probably one of the oldest just members that you guys have. I've been a uni student for 14 of the past 25 years of my life, and I've just submitted my PhD on Jewish connectedness a few weeks ago, and I'm working in social research on projects that I think are really important in the Jewish community. As a curious individual, a passionate Jewish educator, and an engaged parent, I never found ignorance appealing, and my lack of familiarity with the Jewish bookshelf became increasingly difficult to excuse as technology democratized access and made it easier than ever to be a self-made learner. So a couple of years ago, I calculated that if I read a chapter a day, I'd be able to read the entire Tanakh in a year, plus the parasha. A little while later, I calculated that if I read 2 Mishnayot, 2 halachic dot points a day, I'd be able to read the entire 6-volume Mishnah in 5 years, and did both. For anyone familiar with drip irrigation, it's pretty much clear that with minimal daily investment, you can cultivate a garden and make it thrive. The same works in academic pursuits. With the investment of just a few minutes a day, one can become acquainted with the most important books ever written. I'd like to share with you a couple of points on why I think that that's a worthwhile endeavor. I'd always thought of myself as a good person, but the Jewish ethics that I studied set such a high bar for honesty, generosity, and basic human decency than I'd ever thought to set for myself. I'd always donated money to charity, but I learned that it's not just the giving, but the mindset, which is so important. The sensitivity towards the feelings of recipients are vital, and even better than continual drip feed monetary support, enabling them to find a job even trumps that. This learning was also worthwhile because I discovered the golden standard for institutionalized deliberate practice of inclusion. 2,000 years ago, before diversity was even a word, the Mishnah was devoting massive textual real estate to the views of the least accepted and the least learned of the Talmudic sages. Judicial protocol mandated that the least experienced was to speak first in order to avoid intimidation. And Hillel was deemed one of the greatest Jewish sages. Why? Not because of his scholarship, but because he listened and studied and seriously considered the views of his intellectual opposites. I also discovered that the Tanakh, beyond the stories that we learned in kindergarten, deal with sex, violence, political intrigue, insecurities, depression, and deeply marginalized people. I had to deal with uncomfortable narratives, commandments, and laws that jar with my modern orthodoxy my feminism, and my Australian 21st century egalitarianism. But that's the point. When we embrace rather than avoiding these aspects of tradition, we learn to wrestle. And wrestling, by the way, is the closest English translation of the name Israel. If we only immerse ourselves in experiences that reinforce our current preferences and beliefs, we focus only on self-discovery and self-affirmation. And in the process, we cheat ourselves of the meaning and purpose that come from grappling with that stuff that lies beyond our comfort zone. I knew it before, but that trek through the Tanakh and through the Mishnah, with the stories and laws that deal with betrayal, lies, compromise, and deep human frailty, which, by the way, the Tanakh does not whitewash. They highlighted that meaning and joy come from discipline, self-sacrifice, and transcendence of self. Joseph, Miriam, David, and Esther weren't great because they were these flawless, perfect people. They were great despite starting off troubled backgrounds or really stuffing up in a major way on something that really counted. Despite that, they owned it. They developed skills and character traits that didn't come naturally. They stretched themselves. Unlike university degrees, which are mostly for a finite period of learning before a future career, Jewish learning is for life because Jewish learning is life. There's this beautiful tradition of saying Hadran Alach after learning a Jewish text. It's basically an Aramaic phrase that says, I'm coming back to you again. And it reflects, for those who want to know and grow, that learning is an endless love affair with our heritage and wisdom. With most of the classical Jewish books available online and podcasts granting incredible access to people across the planet, my pitch to you is that while you're earning your degree at uni, make Jewish learning your minor. You never know. You might encounter something major.
Thanks so much, Adina, for that. I'm sorry to everyone for the technicalities that we couldn't get her camera working. I really love that idea that to make an emphasis to put Judaism within the university framework. And I think that's nonetheless an amazing idea. So thank you, Adina, for sharing that with us. We are now honored to hear, speak, and perform Rabbi Noam Sendor. Rabbi Sendor is the senior rabbi at Blake Street Shul. He's also a teacher at Liebler Yavneh College. He's a jazz singer with the pioneering Alter Jazz Ensemble and an aspiring novelist. So, Rav Sendor, the floor is yours.
Hey everyone, hope you're well. My name is Noam Sendor, and I'm a rabbi here in Melbourne at Blake Street Hebrew Congregation and Liebler Yavneh College. And I do a little bit of music on the side, and I was kindly asked by Eddie to share a song with you. And I thought to do actually something maybe a little bit different and invite you to meditate with me for a moment, but through the use of a nigun. A nigun is a wordless melody that one sings over and over again in order to reach a meditative state. And I thought that that would be an appropriate thing to do here as I sit in my sukkah and as we celebrate the Chag of Sukkot, because in many ways Sukkot represents, we go outside of the comfort of our home and we step into this makeshift hut and we try to tap into our inner peace, even as we are amidst the elements. We reach out, or maybe more appropriately, we reach within to find our inner peace amidst the turbulence of all the world. And I think that, there's so much difficulty in the world, and there's so many challenges. And the festival of Sukkot teaches us that we need to step within ourselves, to take some time and relax and breathe and focus on what's important and focus on what really matters. tap into our core, the essence of our being, so that we can then step out into this world and deal with the challenges. And so a meditation in a sukkah is a beautiful thing, an appropriate thing for all of us to do. And so whether you're sitting in a sukkah or not, I want to join you, I want to invite you to join me for a very short meditation. We're going to play a nigun, a wordless melody that you're welcome to sing along if you know it, and sing along if you pick it up. And this nigun is called Nigun Tishrei, the melody of the month of Tishrei that we are in. And it's by a really wonderful band in Yerushalayim called Navat Tehillah. You can check them out online, Navat Tehillah. So this is Nigun Tishrei, and to get into it, I want to invite you to sit up straight, put your feet flat on the floor, or you can sit cross-legged on the floor, or if you're in your bed, you can lie down on your back and close your eyes gently. Let's begin by just taking a couple of deep breaths in. Just sense the space around you, the noises. Gently close your eyes. And I'm going to start playing this melody for the next few minutes. And I want you to either just listen along as you breathe deeply and gently, or continue to sing, breathe, relax, tap into that sukkah state of mind. invite you to just take
full.
Wherever you are, if your eyes have been open, maybe just close them for just a moment longer. Breathe in and hold that air once your lungs are full, and then release. Again, take a deep breath in through your nose, filling up your lungs as much as you can. Hold and release. Let's do 2 more. And when you're ready, you can open up your eyes. I want to bless you all with inner peace, inner joy. Sukkot teaches us to find that inner joy regardless of what's going on. We have to tap into what we're grateful for, tap into the blessings in our life. And may the Sukkah of peace spread from within your heart into this whole world. All the best, everyone, and thanks for inviting me to share some music, share this moment, and for inviting me into your homes or into your Sukkot. All the best.
Wow, that was incredible. Thank you so much, Rav Sendel, for that meditative experience. I'm feeling very relaxed after that one. We are now honored to hear from Rabbanit Judith Levitan, all the way from Maroubra, Sydney. Rabbanit Judith is a lawyer with over 15 years experience in the social justice sector and currently working at Legal Aid in New South Wales. She's one of the first Orthodox women to receive smicha in Australia. Thank you, Rabbanit, for joining us. I believe you're on mute. You might just have to take yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. Thanks so much for having me. And tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about Simchat Torah. And this Simchat Torah is obviously going to be a very different one to what we are used to, and somewhat challenging, I think. Because Simchat Torah, as the name implies, is one of the happiest times in the Jewish year. And yet, in some places, I think in Melbourne probably, there's not going to be shul. And in places like in Sydney, where we might be even fortunate to have shul, the shul we're going to have is very different. There will be no dancing. There will be masks. There'll be no singing. There'll be no communal hakafot. It's going to be a much more muted affair. And so I wanted to, Eddie asked me to talk about a personal story. So I wanted to recall a story or a memory that I think really best represents the world before it was turned upside down. And one of my most vivid memories of Simchat Torah is when I was a university student and also a madricha at Bnei Akiva. And I really want to draw on that memory because I think it represents everything that we can't have now. Like going back and thinking about it, there was a packed room, there was a roar of a crowd screaming and singing our lungs out, and there was very spirited and non-stop dancing and horrors. You know, you're dancing. Hora with the Torah is the title here. So there was lots of horrors going on. And that experience really set the bar for me for how I wanted to experience Simchat Torah going forward every year. But more than that, that experience that night also set the bar for how I wanted to experience Judaism going forward. Because in that experience, I was an active participant in what was going on. I was dancing, davening or praying and then dancing. And I was part of a Judaism that was vibrant and that was alive. And I remember, I danced so much to the point that I was forced to sort of stop and take a breath. And thinking about the dynamic of Jewish dancing and the horrors, we think about how we dance. Think about bar or bat mitzvahs or weddings. We dance in these concentric circles. And when you dance, you have a choice. You can dance on that outer circle where there's not that much movement and you basically stand and clap your hands and watch others move. Or you can move to the center, to that inner circle where the dancing is fast and furious. And it was at that B'nai Akiva Simchat Torah Hakafot dancing that I decided how I wanted to dance with Judaism. I wanted to dance in those inner circles. I wanted to be where the action was, and I wanted to be part of the action. And I wanted to engage with Judaism so that it would literally take my breath away. Our rabbis say, hafachna de kulaba, like that you should turn the Torah round and round. But if you think about it in relation to dancing, think about dancing and turning and spinning the Torah and the knowledge and the values and the heritage and tradition that we had around in your head. And I really loved actually what Adina had previously said about when we finish learning something, we say Hadran alach, right? We say we're coming back to you, just like in the circle, we come back to the same place, that when we come back to that place where we're changed, we're different. So really, we've got this ability to dance with Judaism. And so for me, it began a lifelong journey of learning and engagement with Torah. And when I was at university, in every, sort of uni holidays that I had, I know it's not possible quite now, but I would, go off to Israel and study in yeshiva. And for the last 3, and I've sort of kept up that learning throughout my life. In the last 3 years, I studied Jewish texts through Yeshivat Maharat, culminating in being awarded a smicha. So my message to you on this eve of Simchat Torah is that you have a choice about how you want to dance with Judaism. You can stand on that outer circle as a spectator, looking at others enjoy themselves. Or you can take someone's hand, you can make a connection, and you can join the fray. I think the latter is going to give you a more meaningful and a more fun experience. And while we can't physically dance this weekend, we can resolve to take the spirit of Simchat Torah with us. You can engage with monjas. You can make connections with Jewish students and Jewish organizations. You can engage and get involved where the Jewish action is, whether that's online like now or with texts, and hopefully very soon in person too. And what I would also say is you can be so vigorously and actively involved in Judaism that it literally can take your breath away. So I wish you all a Chag Sameach in the true sense of the word, to have simcha, and to take that spirit of Simchat Torah and to dance with your Judaism. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Rabbanit Judith, for those inspiring words. And Rabbanit Judith will also be joining us for our panel very soon. So we'll see you there. And just a reminder to all our viewers watching live to send in your questions in the comments section where you are watching for our video, where you're watching this being streamed live, to be able to send in questions to our panelists. So before we get to the panel, we just have 2 more exciting performances. I'm delighted to announce that we will now be hearing from Shmuley Rosenbaum. Shmuley is a student at Deakin University studying commerce and law. In his spare time, he loves playing music, especially as a member of the Rosie Band. He particularly enjoys acoustic kumsit style music and the chance to connect with others through song. So, Shmuley Rosenbaum, everyone.
Hi, everybody. So excited to be here with you tonight. Thought I'd share with you a couple of songs. You might know some of them, so please sing along and enjoy it. First song I wanted to share with you is Kol Ha'olam Kula. And this song I thought was very appropriate for us in our current time and in our current situation. The song describes the world as a very narrow bridge, something we have to get across that might be so scary and it just might be difficult. And it tells us that the answer is, how do we face all our fears? Simply not fear at all. And I think that's a very appropriate message we can take into Simchat Torah. We know that happiness overcomes all boundaries and all negativity. So this Simchat Torah, let's gain a whole new perspective on the world and overcome anything we might be facing through joy and simcha. So I want you to sing this song with me, and let's bring happiness to the world. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar me'od, gesher tzar me'od, gesher tzar me'od. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar me'od, gesher tzar me'od. והעיקר לא לפחד, לא לפחד, והעיקר לא לפחד, לא לפחד כלל. But the main thing to recall is to have no fear at all. But the main thing to recall is to have no fear at all. והעיקר לא לפחד כלל. והעיקר let's raise the energy a bit, guys. This next song, some of you might recognize the tune, some of you might even know the words. But this song is all about joy and simcha and the power of happiness. So let's get up off our couches, come together and sing together. חתן וכלה, אשר בא ששון שמחה, חתן וכלה. איי הגיל הרינה, איי נצחד בה, Happy Sukkot, everyone. Chag Sameach.
Thanks so much for that, Shmuley. That was awesome. We now have one last performance before we get to our panel, and we're delighted to announce that we'll hear from Rabbi Moishi Khan and Dov Farkas, who will now be singing together to end off the music before the panel begins. Renowned for his dynamic and contemporary style, Moishi Khan is the Rabbi of Dominion, Director of Chabad Youth and Young Jewish Professionals, and has more than 25 years of experience in the field of education and working with youth. Dov is the son of the world-renowned Chazan Shimon Farkas and grew up in an atmosphere of Jewish music in Melbourne. He's performed in many concerts as a guest Chazan around the world and is equally at home on stage and on the bimah. Dov has served as Chazan of the South Head Synagogue in Sydney, Chazan of the Chabad House of Caulfield 770. And in 2008, Dov was appointed as the chief cantor of the Caulfield Hebrew congregation in Melbourne, one of Australia's largest synagogues. Both Moishi and Dov also recently appeared on the ABC as part of a series exploring the Jewish community during lockdown restrictions in Melbourne. So put your hands together for our final performance for the night for Moishi and Dov.
Chag Sameach to all the wonderful students out there. The future of Melbourne is you, by the way. And I want to tell you something. I'm sitting here on Sukkot with my dear brother Dov. And Dov is of fame now after being on ABC TV. Together we were on ABC TV. But today's the real gig as we come together to celebrate with all the wonderful uni students on Sukkot. And I want to tell you something, students. Sukkot is about coming together. You have the tall love and you have the little fat estrog. And sometimes people say, I stand tall, and the other guy says, I stand big. And we think of ourselves as big and different. Why should I get together with this guy? Why should I come with him? And you know what we say on Sukkot? We say, let's come together because we are inherently one. We might look different superficially, but inside our heart, inside our soul, let's remember we are brothers and we are sisters. And so, Dov, I think we should sing Leman Achai V'Re'ai, which is all about our brothers and sisters. We care for our brothers, we care for our sisters, we care for each other, because Sukkot is about caring for one another.
This song is exactly that, what Moshe said. It's called Leman Achai V'Re'ai, in English, because of my brothers and friends. Leman Achai V'Re'ai, Leman Achai V'Re'ai, Adabrona. Brothers and friends, because of my sisters and friends, please let me ask, please let me sing peace to you. remember, we're all brothers and sisters, because this is the house. The sukkah is the house of the Lord, the house of Hashem. And we wish you peace, we wish you peace and harmony. Because as we sit in this sukkah, with love and with joy, we bless you. Every single one of you, we bless you. Chag
Let's come together and celebrate all of us as one family. Sing along. Thank you so much to all of you. Thank you for watching. Thank you to Rabbi Mendy and Lifshu, who's doing an extraordinary job on campus. And we wish you all success. And as Dov said, this is the house of the Lord. You know why it's the house of the Lord? Only because because we're all together. So my friends, when you want to build an edifice, you want to build a home, there's only one way: by uniting, by being together. Am Yisrael Chai, God bless you. We love you. Keep the faith. Keep strong, because you're the future. Love you.
Wow, that was a brilliant performance, and I can personally say I miss that chazanut from Shul, which unfortunately we haven't been able to hear for some time. So thank you, Moishi and Dov, and I think that's a great way to end off our speakers and singers section. I can definitely say the songs and speakers were incredible, and it gave me tremendous joy listening to them. So we will now conclude the night with a short panel answering questions from you guys listening live. So if you have any questions you'd like to ask but haven't sent them in, we are delighted to welcome back again Rabbanit Judith Levitan, who, after speaking and sharing her words of inspiration, has kindly offered to stay with us for our panel. So welcome back, Rabbanit Judith. We also have Rabbi Mendy Eisenschmidt with us tonight. Rabbi Mendy is the director of Chabad Campus Melbourne and the Jewish chaplain at Monash, Melbourne, Deakin and La Trobe universities. Mendy has held rabbinic positions in China, Hong Kong and Vietnam, and together with his wife Livshi, they have opened their home to all Jewish university students in Melbourne. Welcome, Rabbi Mendy. And we also are honored to have with us tonight Rabbi Marcus Rosenberg. Rav Marcus is a high school Jewish studies teacher at Livli Yavneh College. He completed his smicha from the chief rabbinate of Israel at the Gush Yeshiva in Israel and from Rav Yoni Rosenzweig. He has a double degree in commerce and arts, majoring in economics and English, and also served as a B'nai Madrich for 3 years. So good evening to the three of you. Okay, so we've had a few questions come in on the stream, so I guess we'll start off with those, and if anyone has any further questions that I can see, then I'll ask them. And also to all the panelists, try and keep your answers as brief as possible. So I got the first question from our audience is as follows. So here we go. I find myself confused between the difference between the festival of Shavuot and the festival of Simchat Torah. Firstly, what is the difference between the two festivals? And secondly, since Simchat Torah is similar to Shavuot, with the dancing elements only differentiating the two, how are they any different this year if we aren't able to dance with the Torah like we usually do? Perhaps we'll start with Rabbanit Judith.
Okay, so I guess the major way that they are different is that Shavuot is one of three, what we call Shalosh Regalim, or three pilgrim festivals, that's mandated in the Torah. And Simchat Torah, I guess, is a festival developed a bit later on. So we don't necessarily have it as something that is mandated in the Torah. Shavuot commemorates, yes, I guess what you mentioned is the connection between the Torah to both of them. What Shavuot commemorates is when we actually received the Torah on Har Sinai, the revelation, the time when we committed to Hashem, like a bit like a Jewish marriage, like marriage. When we committed to Hashem, Hashem committed to us, to the Torah. Simchat Torah, on the other hand, is, I guess, a celebration of reading through the Torah. So we have a cycle that now goes for a year, and we sort of start and then we complete. So we have those two sort of elements. Shavuot, really, the themes and the ideas behind Shavuot are really about that commitment and that idea of that intimate moment when Hashem and the Jewish people connected. And Simchat Torah, sort of, we look at it in a different way, as more of like, if you think of it as the marriage, then Simchat Torah is kind of like the party afterwards. It's the time when we celebrate the actually reading through the Torah.
Oh, sorry, I think I was on mute. Rav Marcus, would love to hear your thoughts as well.
Thanks so much. I don't have much to add to that. That was really great, and I think a thorough answer. One thing that I might suggest is that perhaps
I really like the metaphor of comparing Shavuot to a wedding, and I might compare Simchat Torah to maybe like a 50th wedding anniversary, sort of having not just begun, but actually having claimed the Torah and said, we have not just begun, but we have lived our lives by this for another year. We have learnt it for another year, and we've completed the yearly cycle of reading the Torah. And with that sense of relief and accomplishment, that's I think the source of the joy on Simchat Torah. Whereas, as you mentioned, Rabbanit Judith, that's the joy of the beginning is the joy of Shavuot.
Rabbi Mendy, anything that you'd like to add?
Yeah, so I agree with our previous panelists. It's nice to meet you all. I want to just say thank you to Eddie. He's been doing a wonderful job. Many sleepless nights this last 2 weeks, and calling me nonstop. But he's done a great job, and I want to thank him because no one else will. We will. One of the key differences that I would like to highlight between Simchat Torah and Shavuot is Shavuot we celebrate by studying all night. Many people have the custom to stay up all night and study. And I mean, today we have all these different speakers, and it's a great night to hear all different types of lectures, not just in Torah, but it's become a great time for anyone who likes to speak to get a platform. But on Simchat Torah, it's a night that we celebrate dancing. And there is a big difference because not everyone is intellectual, not everyone likes to learn, not everyone can sit down and learn for a whole night long. Not everyone studies all year long. It'd be great to, and there's lots of platforms for that. But Simchat Torah, we celebrate with the Torah not open like we do on Shavuot, but we actually celebrate with the Torah closed. The Torah is, as my wife mentioned, and when she spoke, is that the Torah is closed and it's wrapped up in its case. And the Torah belongs to everybody, and it's accessible to everyone. And it's a time for everyone to celebrate. It doesn't matter what your level of study is, what your level of knowledge is. And as regards to the difference this year, if we're not able to dance with the Torah, well, some shuls are having some sort of minyan or service. And so there might be some ability to dance, but it's definitely going to be very limited compared to previous years. And maybe at home, maybe take your children or take your siblings or take your friends or your family, dance with them. And I think that would be a great way to celebrate Simchat Torah.
Rabbi Mendy, what you were just mentioning, I think is a good segue into the next question, which we've just had come in, which is as follows. Do you think how we're celebrating Simchat Torah this year will affect the way we celebrate it in future years? Rabbi Mendy, since you just finished, would you like to also begin?
Yes. So I would say today when I was sitting with, I took a sukkah to visit students around Melbourne this past week. And today I had the privilege to sit with Jack Stock from the Corges, the president of Corges of Caulfield campus. And we were talking about, what life is like now and what life will be in the future. The question you asked was how it will be different in future years. Was that the question? Sorry.
Yeah. How will what we're doing this year, how will it affect how Simchat Torah would be
in the future? Okay, good. Sorry. So we're talking about how things have changed, and the question is, will we go back to the way it was? Everybody was living a life like kind of a rat race. We're all trying to fit everything in our busy schedules. To get a student to commit for a Shabbos dinner more than 4 days in advance is an extremely difficult thing to do, let alone anything with a longer, more than 2 hours of their time. Everybody's so busy. There's so many different things happening in your life. And today, everybody's open. Everyone has lots of free time, lots of time to learn, study a new language. Open, as Mrs. Benki Karp said about time to study. You can learn the whole Torah during lockdown. You could accomplish so much. So the question is, what will change this year? I think this year we're bringing Simchat Torah home. We're bringing all the Chagim home, and it's been beautiful having that time to, instead of just being lost in a crowd and shul, we're taking the time to make it meaningful at home. So the question is, are we going to go back to a regular life after lockdown, or are we going to let this affect us in the future? And I would say that just like everything, that we hope that we've become a lot more mindful of everything we do in our lives due to this lockdown, and that we hope that in the future we'll be more mindful. And so I think definitely Simchat Torah will be different, not because we won't be able to celebrate how we have. We'll definitely be celebrating the way we used to, but we'll be a lot more mindful about and thankful for and gratitude for the fact that we can and that we will. So that's, I think, my 2 cents there.
Any Rabbi Judith, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I'll say there's there's a song that goes, "You don't know what you've got till it's gone," and I think that what this lockdown has done, or what this COVID has done, is it's really made us appreciate things that maybe we did take for granted. So maybe we were a little bit sort of casual with what we had in terms of shul. And I read somewhere that a rabbi was saying, and he quoted the Achat Sha'alti Hashem Shifti B'Veit Hashem. The one thing that I ask from Hashem is that I can get back to shul, that I can live in the house of Hashem. And I think that how we will be affected in future years, hopefully, is that we will approach that ability to dance on Simchat Torah, that ability to be all together. We will approach it with gusto and with appreciation, with a renewed appreciation for really how precious these moments are that punctuate our Jewish calendar, and for us to be together to do that.
I think I'm on mute. I'm going to ask the next question to Rav Marcus. And what I'll do is, we've had 2 questions come in, and I'm just going to join them together. I'm just conscious of time. And then the rest of the panelists can also give their responses to the questions. So the first question is, I wasn't privileged to be part of a group to pray for this Simchat Torah. I usually love the dancing. What am I actually supposed to do on Simchat Torah? Any tips for the mindset on the day, how to stay connected on the day itself? And the second question is, how should people be celebrating or connecting to Simchat Torah if they themselves have not studied Torah?
2 very important, relevant, and challenging questions. So firstly, what should a person do this year, and how to connect to the day? Well, I think that the best way to do it is to connect with what really Simchat Torah is actually happy about, which is the accomplishment of having successfully studied a component of Torah and being proud of that. And so I recommend to everybody to read the part of the Torah that is the Torah reading of Simchat Torah, which is the very end of the Torah, the final parsha of V'zot HaBracha, and the very first parsha of Bereshit, because I think that these are actually extremely emotional parshiot, especially the conclusion of the Torah. And I think that there's a reason why these trigger such emotion, because I remember when I was in yeshiva for the first time, and I saw the head of my yeshiva receiving an aliyah for this particular very end part of the Torah, and he was in tears with emotion. And I realized at that point that actually, if we really pay attention to what goes on, it can actually really affect us if we allow it to. So that would be one piece of advice, to actually read the end of the Torah, and then perhaps to try the beginning as well. And that is something hopefully that everybody can do, regardless of whether you've learnt Torah before. I think the ending of Moshe's life and the having to relinquish control is not only something that is relevant to those who study Torah, but on a regular basis, but relevant to all people. And especially in this time when to a certain extent, we've had to also relinquish control over parts of our lives that we usually like to connect with. And a second way to connect, which also has a little to do with having had studied a significant amount of Torah before, is something that I think is really, really important, often overlooked, which is that Simchat Torah is actually a festival that, as Rabbinate Judith mentioned, is a fairly modern festival that's sort of been dressed upon the festival of Shmini Atzeret. Shmini Atzeret is also a very valuable festival to connect to, which has its own significance and meaning, which is actually quite connected to the agriculture and nature, and it commemorates the start of the rainy season in Israel. And this time was a happy time, not just because of completing the Torah, but also because of the festivities that took place in the temple with the Simchat Beit HaSho'eva, the drawing of the water ceremony, which would be commemorating the faith and hope that we have for the coming rainy season in Israel. And so perhaps if somebody is not so learned, they could still connect to the ideas of connecting with nature and getting in touch with the hopeful feelings that are associated with the coming rainy season in the land of Israel.
Rabbi Mendy, and just to restate the question, it was to some tips on how to connect to the mindset of the day, and particularly for someone who has not studied Torah, how should they celebrate? How can they connect to the day on Simchat Torah, particularly this year? I think you just have to unmute yourself.
Okay, there we go. Sorry, so I think it's a beautiful question. It's a great question because there's a pasuk that says Torah tziva lanu Moshe morasha kihlat Yaakov, which means that the Torah was given as an inheritance to the congregation of Jacob, which is the Jewish people. And in order to inherit something, if a rich uncle dies and you inherit $1 million, you don't have to do anything. You don't have. There's nothing that you have to do. You don't have to study something. You don't have to. It belongs to you 100%. And you could, someone could, try to fight it in court, but it belongs to you. It's your inheritance, and that's the Torah. The Torah is all of our inheritance. So whether you study, whether you don't study, the Torah belongs to you just as much as it belongs to me, just as it belongs to Rav Marcus Rosenberg, as much as it belongs to Rabbinate Judith or anybody else that we know. So you don't have to do anything. The Torah belongs to you, and you can celebrate once a year. You don't have to study. It's great to study. It's great to do all these things, but as I said, it's an inheritance. So we celebrate together. The most learned and the most unlearned are all equal on Simchat Torah. That's why we dance with the Torah closed and not open. What can you do? We're actually doing a 1 hour hakafa for your Jewish students at 2 p.m. this Sunday. I think Edward will share the details a bit later, but there are options for students. Obviously, we have to follow the HHS guidelines and do what we need to do, but we are trying to make it available to students, even in a limited way, at a 1 hour service. But if you're looking for things to do, there are great resources. You can study up online. There are great websites with lots of Torah and inspirational stories. Maybe download some stories and some articles or something to inspire and share with your family, dance with them, and most importantly, stay l'chaim.
And Rabbinate Judith? You just have to turn yourself off mute. There you go. There you go.
Everyone,
Yeah,
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the other panelists have summed it up quite well. I think the one thing I just want to emphasize is that just because you might not have ever opened a Torah or ever learnt Torah before shouldn't be a barrier to starting. And one of our greatest sages, the story is told of Rabbi Akiva, who he came to Torah when he was 40 years old. And he came to it. How did he come to it? The sort of midrash or the story that tells us that it was by Aleph, by starting with Aleph, by starting with learning the Hebrew letters, and what inspired him? It was the drip irrigation that Adina Bank Yakab talked about. He saw that if water can wear down a rock little by little, I can also absorb little by little the Torah. So I think that, just to make that point, that doesn't have to be a barrier. And the other thing is, as Rabbi mentioned, there are heaps of resources online, and one in particular, if you don't want to necessarily read like dense texts, but the 929 website, which actually is like a chapter of Tanakh a day, but it also has it has like art and poetry and videos and things like that. So you can connect, I guess, not only through like reading intellectually, but there are those other ways to sort of maybe get inspired tomorrow for the day on Sunday online.
Yeah, I think that's a really beautiful and profound idea. And I think even something that goes back to the beginning of the evening when Tali spoke, how she was mentioning there are so many opportunities within the community. There are also consequently so many opportunities online and so many resources that can help us engage, especially this year in Melbourne when it's very hard to engage in a joyous and usually public event that usually involves dancing. But I want to thank you very much, all three of you, for taking part in this short panel to conclude our Simchat Torah pre-Simchat Torah virtual concert. And there were some great questions that were asked, and I'm glad that we had Rabbinate Judith and Rabbi Mendy Eisenschmidt and Rav Marcus to answer them. And thank you to the live audience as well for tuning in tonight. And I think it was a very incredible evening. Just some things coming up over the next week. Be sure to sign up. Rabbi Mendy was mentioning that on Simchat Torah, there's going to be a hakafot sort of for Simchat Torah service for uni students this Sunday at 2 p.m. 1 Advocate Street. And to register for that, you'd need to register by tomorrow at 11 a.m. And the link for that is tinyurl.com/campus Torah. There's also a couple of other virtual events that will be coming up after the Chagim, including a mentalist performance, a collaboration between Monjus and Orjus Victoria this Wednesday, the 14th of October at 8 p.m. So be sure to sign up for that. And finally, Chabad Campus and Orjus's upcoming Mega Unity Shabbat, which you can see on screen, a challah bake on Thursday, the 15th and 16th of October. And for more info on that, you can see the Chabad Campus or Orjus Vic Facebook pages. So there's lots of events coming up. There's a lot of ways to get involved. And what a jam-packed evening it was tonight. I want to thank everyone for tuning into tonight's celebrations virtually, albeit virtually. And I want to wish everyone a Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach. Thank you so much, Edward.
Pleasure.
Chag Sameach. We have a song an outro that we've set up to play us down.
And the road ahead is paved with possibility, laughter and smiles. When I'm with you, I'm soaring high and free. When you're in my world, I believe in me. I look into your eyes and see that I see the light of better days. But then I dare to dream, I find the hope for more. I reach for all you gave and see that I can be stronger, I can be braver, I can be anything, anything I wanna be. Oh, anything I wanna be. I have the power, I have the courage, I am a hero. Everything I need is inside of me. Oh, is inside of me. Life is the people we love and what we give to one another. Loving is giving, giving is life. Life is the people we love and what we give to one another. Loving is giving, giving is life. You can be, I can be. You can be. You can be, I can be. I can be. You can be, we can all be stronger. You can be, I can be. You can be stronger, you can be braver, you can be anything, anything you wanna be. Oh, anything you wanna be. You have the power, you have the courage, you are a hero. Everything you need is inside of you. You can be stronger, you can be braver, you can be anything, anything you wanna be. Oh, anything you wanna be. You have the power, you have the courage, you are a hero. Everything you need is inside of you. I am a fighter, I am a dreamer, I am a hero. Everything I am, 'cause you believed, 'cause you believed.